PraetorCrash. Praetor, what's your solution to the property tax?
Sales tax. Simple as that. I have always been a fan of sales tax. People say, well, you shouldn't be a fan of taxes, period. I realize that the government needs to fund itself. I understand that. Do I think the government is too big at every level? Absolutely. But nevertheless, even at the smallest size, a government still has to pay its employees.
Well, of course.
Still has to put electricity in its buildings. So for me, it's always a sales tax.
Mm-hmm.
In our city where we live in, there is a small sales tax. It came up for a while, and it's gone away. It's come back a couple times for projects. But why don't you just make a small one? I think it was a half-cent sales tax, and used to fund a big development project in the middle of the city. But that's actually it's very small. It didn't affect me that much. But still, it also takes revenue from people that live in the local populace that use services every day, and also travelers that come through. So during peak seasons, when people come through the city, you actually get more revenue. So you can actually project more for the city and use those projections to actually estimate budgets for future projects. Mm-hmm. Instead, let's just punish people that have earned and bought property in the city and tax them at 1 or 2. I think it's somewhere 1.8% or something like that for Texas or in this area. 1.8% of your property. If you own, a $100,000 house, that's $1,800 you have to pay every year just for owning your property. Even if you own it, you have the deed. It's not the bank. You paid it off. $800 out of your pocket. Or if you don't pay that tax, they take it. Whether you've lived in there 3 years or 30 years, they will take it from you.
Yeah.
And so I think the solution to that, the incentive to buy property, everyone always argues that homeowners, they're the ones that actually build communities. Home ownership is what actually increases value in neighborhoods. Let people actually own their homes then. That's my solution. Let people actually own homes. Have their families raised in the community. Have everyone own their home. Everyone actually owns their home lock, stock. That means you have interest in your home. You want to make your home look respectable. You want to keep it up. But if you don't own it, you've said to yourself a couple times, what's the incentive? If the government can just come and take it, if I come on lean times and lose my job when I can't manage to pay you $300 just because you're going to take my house, what's the incentive to make my house look better, to raise the value of other people's homes? There is no incentive. I have to keep that extra money on the back burner just because I know around the corner is going to come property tax time, or it might be raised, and then I'm hamstrung to begin with. So I think the biggest solution is sales tax. And I mean, personally, I would do that for almost every level of government. Just if we had to increase sales taxes, it's a consumption-style tax. So if you have people that want to grow a garden, they can save their money because they're growing it themselves. For those that want to go to the store and buy stuff, they pay the tax. And as I said, during high peak times of travel through the area, you actually raise revenues for the government. During low periods, they obviously go down, but you can estimate that. Businesses do it all the time. I don't see why government can't. But what do you think? What's your solution if you have one?
No, I would agree with that. I think that's a common sense approach to funding issues. But I would take it a little further, to be honest, and I would pose another question, which so you impose a consumer tax. Okay, so now we're doing a consumer tax, which I think is a good idea, by the way. At base, I think it's a good idea. Mm-hmm. But I think the real issue is how do you stem the never-ending, continually growing federal government, which is going to demand more revenue streams no matter what?
Well, I mean, the short answer is vote in people that have that same. That's
it. I mean, property taxes. That's just they get their foot. They have their foot in the door with with the income tax thing, and then property taxes, eminent domain, and everything else, and it just keeps growing. It just keeps growing.
It's true. So, it's perversion of freedom.
So I don't think my short response to that is I don't think that if we were to impose like a consumer style tax that it would solve the problem, because I think we're at a point now where the machine is growing at a geometric rate, and it's going to be pretty difficult to rein in.
I agree. We can wrap this one up in our next segment.